What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Future Automation Weekend Talks, and we are having Kanak here with us, where we are going to explore the evolution of iOS development. And let's get to it. So, welcome, Sabah. How are you? Hope you're doing well, and thank you for joining me in this podcast.
Thank you, Tejas. It's a really great pleasure to have me in your podcast. So
Great.
I'm really excited to go with the first time in the podcast. Yeah, let's
Great.
explore.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Thank you. And I think it's really a great thing to have you. Since we had a discussion in one of the last meet that we had, I was really excited to do this podcast. Okay, so before going into the technical question and answers, I think since you have huge experience and people should know what kind of experience you are having, I think it would be really great that you tell us something about your journey in iOS development and how did you get started with it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I will say my experience. So I started the iOS development in 2014, and primarily I was using the Objective-C. So here, and then I moved a transition to Swift programming. So my first project is about the uh, you can see it's for exam preparation for the school students. Later I go with restaurant dining, map tracking, location, and now recently I have built an application which is related to healthcare using a BLE. You are good in that stuff, I know. Yeah, that's small introduction of my journey. So we can speak
Great,
about
yeah,
detail.
yeah. I think 9 plus years is really a great experience, and with that great experience, I think lot of knowledge bundle comes in with it. So we'll try to extract most of the knowledge today and see if we can learn from it. So as you mentioned that you have transitioned from Objective C to Swift, Objective C being the primary language or the primary technology for in the initial days of iOS development. Can you share some experience with Objective C and its significance in iOS development?
Yeah, sure. So Objective-C was a primary language for Apple. So they built the applications in Mac as well. So they had a sustainable code base that has been really grateful for the make a transition to the iOS platform. So they started developing the iOS application in Xcode 3. So it is a very evolved one. So
Mhm.
yeah, from which we this is Objective-C is a primary language, and it has a rich of OOPS concept. And now we have a Swift is modern programming. So
Correct, correct.
yeah,
I think the transition must have been a bit of challenging for I think Apple as well. But yeah, so since Objective C being the primary language, it is also known that Objective C is a strict superset of C. So how does that impact the iOS development, or how did it impact in the previous days as well when you were using Objective C?
yeah. So while building the iOS application, uh, and earlier we have the low-level C frameworks or some libraries we might have used in C programming. So we can able
Mhm.
to use it in the Objective-C iOS applications to develop the application with the help of the existing libraries that
Mhm.
also help in multiple programming as well. So
Okay.
that's a strict superset of C.
So
So
you are saying that
this
we were able to use the C programming live packages also in Objective C while developing the
obviously.
iOS application. Okay, that's something new for me as well. Okay, great. So see, like every language that is now, like say for example, Java being used or Kotlin being used in Android and Swift or Objective C being used in this iOS development, we have different kits that are used for making the coding or making functionality a bit more easier, a bit more efficient. So could you explain the role of foundation kit and the UI kit libraries in iOS development?
Yeah, foundation kits the basic one. So
Mm-hmm.
that will help you into the creation of string, a dictionary or sets. So those basic are making a URL connection or a session. while interacting with the network layer and data
Mm-hmm.
layer. So that helps in with the help of the foundation classes. And when it comes to UI kit, we have a user interface, so
Okay.
we can able to make it interactive. Like we can um, have features like drag and drop such views, and we can modify the views. That helps into visualizing the code as well. So these
Mm-hmm.
are the things that help to develop the iOS application.
Okay, okay, and yeah, so I think even there is a app kit as well, I think, which is used in Mac OS, right? For development of Mac OS applications. Correct. Okay. So one
Yeah,
of the thing that I really like was that Apple, developing Xcode, which was kind of a game changer for even I think application development also. So how has Xcode IDE evolved over the years, especially with the integration of project builders and interfaces builders, and how do you see it being evolved in this overall year with perspective of a developer, and how that has made your life bit more easier?
yeah, yeah, sure. Actually, the Xcode is a game changer for every iOS developers that constantly upgrading, and they are making improvements to make use
Mm-hmm.
of new features and functionalities. So before Xcode, we had not myself, but a decade or 2 decades before,
Mm-hmm.
they have has separated like project builder and interface builder. So builder is mainly for project settings, files. Interface is for UA. So later, after
Mm-hmm.
we have come up with the Xcode that integrated both of the things, that really helpful while building the
Mm-hmm.
applications. So yeah, that's how we are able to build the application. The um, like now we have made a transition of especially the UI user interface.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier we
Correct,
had
correct.
XIBs and
Mm-hmm.
storyboards, programmatic constraints, and now we
Correct.
have a Swift UI. So these are
Uh,
the latest changes of Xcode.
Yeah, I think most of the companies who are involved in mobile application development. So we have two main companies only, iOS and for Android. But both the companies are trying to build their in-house integrated development environments so as to make the develop life of developers more easier by providing more packages, more libraries, and reduce the amount of code they need to write, and being able to innovate or being able to do different implementations in the application. So this is something great that I think even Apple has done past in before, I think, in a decade, and they have come a long way with Xcode. And even I have heard from a lot of iOS developers that Xcode is really great in developing iOS applications, those who have come from the initial days of development when they used to use Objective C as well, and now being transitioned to Swift, and that has made their life a bit easier. So yeah, it was a great insight as well. So one more thing I wanted to ask. So I have I had a chance to read few of the things before, in the a while back while learning, I was wanting to develop the iOS applications. So what exactly is the significance of .h and .m extensions in the Objective C, since we are trying to dig into Objective C a bit more, and how do they relate to interface and implementation files?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So you are asking me to go back to the Objective-C now. So I'm able to recollect some of the things like we used to create the two files, .h,
Mhm.
.m. So .h is header files. So that is for public, and that can be exposed. Like okay,
Mhm.
and it's interface. .m it's we can able to implement have an implementation that so
Mhm.
this offers developers to use the encapsulation and also
Mhm.
this reusability. So we can able to use this one. So we can hide the implementation and also other than we can also import some other classes into it. So you might have
Mhm.
heard it in the C++ programming also.
Correct,
We need to
correct.
import
Mhm.
or Java. So we can able to import and we can access the other files, public things, and also
Public
we can
files.
directly import headers files inside the implementation. That makes
Mhm.
simpler. So
Okay.
yeah, these are the
Okay. So when we are talking about .h file, it's the same to what we used to have in C, right? The packages at the top which we used to
Yeah.
include, like math.h, or I don't remind the exact names of the libraries that we used to
Yes.
do, but I think in Turbo C we used to implement the studio.h or something like that. So it's similar to that, right?
Yes,
What is
similar.
the
Yeah,
.h is,
similar.
and okay,
Here we will
okay.
be importing. Yeah.
Then I'm able to relate with what we used to do. Okay, so again, we are since we are turning around, the tech, like specific topics. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you. So, can you distinguish between the? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Cocoa and Cocoa Touch. This. And explain the relevance in macOS and iOS development. I don't know if I have pronounced it correct or how you guys pronounce it.
Yeah, it's fine. So it's a Cocoa and a Cocoa Touch. So
Okay.
Cocoa is made for it is a combination of Foundation and AppKit that can be used in
Uh,
Mac OS. And the Cocoa Touch is for Foundation and UI
mhm.
Kit that we can able to use it for iOS. So the difference is AppKit and a UI kit. So here the UI kit will have the like views like UI view, UI text field, UI controller, view controller. So there's something. So in AppKit we have NS text field, NS view. Those are the things differs. The only
Mhm.
significant difference is NS host is available in macOS, but both plays the same role. It
Okay.
plays in the top of the all services, core services. So that will create a API stack. Okay, so
Okay.
like media, core services, and other layers of things. So this provide a framework, and this helps in developing the applications. These are
Okay.
the major
So,
ones.
so this is used. So Cocoa Touch and Cocoa is a part of Swift or Objective C. It was used previously as well, and still it is continued with some, advancement, or it was used. It is used in Swift only.
No, no, it is. It has been introduced in Objective C itself.
As
So,
okay.
yeah. So it is still since the beginning we are using. So we are
Okay.
still
Okay.
now the Swift standard library has been changed. So
Changed.
that's
Okay, but still it is used. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We can
Okay.
able to use
Great.
it.
Great. Great. Okay. So now here comes the main question. That is, what led to the transition of Objective C from Objective C to Swift programming, and what were the driving factors for it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like why Apple chooses Swift. So
Mm-hmm.
best is we have the modern programming. We need to adapt, and we it really attracts the new developers to make
Mm-hmm.
use of. If it is a module, smaller modules, and it is easy to learn. So obviously, the more developers will be coming and develop the applications. And one more thing, like performance, it's that is a now if you see Swift is 2.65 times faster than the Objective C.
Mm-hmm.
So the performance also matters, and the memory management. So that earlier, whenever we need to build an IO Objective C application, it takes much time, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
runtime of features only. When it comes to
Okay.
Swift, it's a compile time feature. So during the compile time itself, we are able to get it. And the other one is here in the Objective-C is object-oriented programming that has a OOP thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it has a one class inheritance. So we need to use of it. So here in Swift we have the composition over the inheritance. We can able
Mm-hmm.
to use it. That helps in more reusability, and also Swift
Okay.
adapts the protocol-oriented programming as well. And
Mm-hmm.
earlier, WTC has a class or all over class. It has a reference types. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that all Swift things standard libraries uses the structures, but use most of the structures. That are
Correct.
value types that helps in memory
Correct.
management. All these things.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
these are the main reasons why Apple has brought up with the Swift programming
Should. Yeah, I think,
and
and the
TypeScript.
transition must not have been that easy as well for Apple, and also for the developers who had been working, on Objective C from a very long time. But I think that was really a game changer, as we've discussed previously, and it has come a long way. So I think back in 2014, I guess WWDC Apple has released this Swift, and so I want to, like, I'm really curious that how since then it has evolved since its inception, and especially in terms of concurrency and synchronous code support, because that these are the two of the most important factors when it comes to development and when it comes to the working of the application. So how it has evolved since its inception in these two factors, you can say, or again in overall generic perspective as well.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Actually, it's a great change. When I was joining around the 2014, in the end of the 2014, we have got this Swift programming, and people were difficult to change from Objective C to Swift because it has some limitation in initially, right? While having a
Hmm.
new programming, it takes much some time. But what we expect and what we got is like it surpasses the Objective C within 3 to 4 years itself. So it
Hmm.
has gained the popularity is all because of it has a it is a open source and is available for Mac and I mean the Linux platform and Apple platforms as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, these are the advantages of using it. And and also if you see the first Swift 4, it has the classes and the structures and enums. Those are the structures and enums are the value types. So they have
Hmm.
introduced this, and followed
Hmm.
by the uh, before Swift 4 5, we have some stability problem. So they have
Hmm.
had a stable, more stable. And also now if you see in the Swift 5, we have the concurrency and asynchronous support that really helpful. Earlier we had to depend on the low level libraries such as Objective
Correct.
C.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if we build using the Swift, so that will be helpful. So they are making more changes to
Hmm.
help the developers
Correct.
to adapt these things. So
Hmm.
these are the significant change, I would say.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that you're right. Change is again an ongoing process. So with time, I think things will get more and more advanced. And in code perspective, I think it might get a bit lesser, so that we can make more advanced code or more, advanced application. So in any of the concept wherever we are trying to build something that most of the people might be using for development, this is always the motto that okay, there should always be good changes which will make the life of the developers a bit more easier, and also make them enable, because since I me being from the background, coding background only, I have seen what c with c what we had to do. So if we had wanted to create an UI application with C, that was really one of the challenging tasks, I can say. So coming from there to what today we are having, I think we have seen a lot of changes in this past, a decade, 15 years or so, and we have seen programming languages like changing like nothing, new languages coming out like nothing. Now also we are getting new languages, new updates, new versions. So that's really great. One of the things that I see when it comes to uh, working or making sure that most of the people are adapting your programming language or your development platform is the stability. So I have read this term which is ABI stability in Swift. So what exactly is that, and how does it impact the developers?
Yeah, sure. So this change is really important. Yeah, like I told you that before Swift 5, the Swift were not was not stable. So the previous version has some issues or some backlogs.
Hmm.
So to have ABI stability, it's like application binary interface. So for each version,
Hmm.
the binary interface for each application we can able to create. So
Hmm.
in the one version we have a uh, we can send one request that can be compiled in another version. So that is the stability we can able to have. Like version 3 code can also compile to the version 5. So that stability has been given by the Apple. So these are the advantages of stability. And also you can take module stability, the if you see third party frameworks. So the some methods will be deprecated. So like so to make stable for current version, so that should
Mhm.
help, right? It should not give produce incorrect errors or bugs. So to avoid those
Correct.
things, module stability also introduced by Apple. So those are
Mhm.
the important ones.
Okay, okay. And how does the Swift, promotes protocol-oriented programming, and why is it exactly so valuable?
Yeah, sure. And Swift adapts the protocol oriented programming. In the various before we had Objective-C, it's object oriented programming. So
Mhm.
protocols, it helps in composition over the inheritance. So like we can able to achieve the inheritance and the composition, and also extending the classes, extending the protocols. So like with the help of protocols, like using the classes, structures, and enumerations, we can able to adapt the protocols. And most of the Swift standard library adapts the protocols. If you see equitable, identifiable, comparable, so comparable protocols all are coming from the protocols. Earlier we don't have this protocol configuration. So protocols helps in is a blueprint of all methods, classes,
Mhm.
and structures. So
Okay,
you can able to achieve any, and also it helps in the reusability, testability, and also we can able to maintain the code as well, and we can able to simplify, and we can able to conform to many protocols. So that is
okay,
a great features. So
okay.
and faster than the advanced than the object oriented.
Objective. Okay, okay, cool. So, again, I have learned a bit of mobile application development in past, just for some project's sake. One thing I find it very challenging is having different screen size, having two different orientation, portrait and landscape. So I am always amazed with how most of the applications work and how different developers deal with this. So from Apple developer perspective, how do Apple devices and screen size have impacted the iOS app development, uh, like from a challenging perspective, and when it comes to landscape and portrait orientation and size classes as well, how the development is impacted when it comes to these few factors.
Yeah, yeah, sure. It's a good question because it will help how to design a responsive application, and it should support all the devices as well. So if you see every
Hmm.
releases, the iOS, Apple releases with the different sizes and different versions, and also
Correct.
different devices as well. iPad,
Uh,
iPhone, Mac. So the application should support in all sizes, and also someone wants to change the orientation of the phone, it should support. And if the
hmm.
application has the compatibility, so
Correct.
here we have the auto layout constraints that will helpful, and size classes are also helpful, like that we can able to identify the sizes. So based on the sizes that can able to fit into the screen, and it makes the application responsive. So at the end, we need to have a responsive application that should work in all devices, and yeah, view should be fit into the particular sizes. So that will help the users to have more user friendly without any bugs. Yeah.
Okay. So now the next might be a follow-up question. I'm not sure because this is something that I'm not much of aware. But what exactly are auto layouts and constraints, and how they are essential to the iOS app design?
Yeah. Autolate is a great future for developers. Like it's a great tool that we can able to assemble views in a particular size. I mean that can fit into the application or the free screen sizes. So it should work in all devices like be it iPhone, iPad, or a Mac. So it should compatible for all devices if the application permits. So um, these are the this autolate is the major one. So that we need to have with the help of the UI kit, we can able to implement this auto layout, and followed by we have the constraint that we can able to set the rules to the views that create a relationship between the views. Like if you see labels, buttons that should have in particular size, alignment, and also then it will be looking good. And also if something, if we hide some button, that should the view should change appropriately. So if you
Mhm.
add the constraints, it can be really useful. Like earlier we had xibs, so that's xml based xml interface builder. So now we have come across with the storyboard programmatical constraints. So constraints are really helpful. We can, and now the latest like layout anchors that create that will helpful for creating a layouts,
Mhm.
adapting. It helps in the adaptive layout only, and also it should work in all devices. So with the help of these two, we can able to achieve this auto layout and
Mhm.
better responsive screens. And yeah, I think these are the major important things.
Uh, I think Meta has to spend some efforts on designing the Instagram for iPad because that is one
Yeah,
of the
it does.
very bad application. I think they have just used the mobile application and added in iPad, and they are saying like, okay, use it. But yeah, fun
Yes, yes,
aside,
yes.
UI is one of the most important part that makes the user to stay on the app. So, and also mainly, the UI which gets automatically adjusted based on the screen size, or the transformations, the animation, that is really important. That makes the user to stay a lot. So when it comes to UI, what exactly is a declarative AI, and how does Swift embraces this approach in iOS development?
Yeah, sure. And SwiftUI is a significant feature had been added by Apple. So earlier in the previous question, I have told about auto layered constraints. So that we need to have we need to give a set of rules, right? So
Mm-hmm.
declarative syntax that we can declare this is a label, and these are the actions we need to have, these are the modifiers. So that will create automatically, and it has the automatic layout system. So yeah, we can able to achieve using the declarative UI. So when it comes to declarative UI, it's a data driven, state driven, are the major important one. So if you see in the data binding in the WWDC 2019, what Apple suggested that it has a unidirectional flow. In earlier, the UI kit has loses the synchronization. The view state will be changed, and app state also change. Sometimes it will be changing, so there will be loss of synchronization. So Apple has this unidirectional flow, like having the user send some interaction to the action. So action will communicate with this initial state, and it transforms the state to a new state. And with the help of this, it updates to the view. So and view that renders the data to the UA user interface.
Mm-hmm.
So now the changes will be based on the actions and the interaction given by the user. So it's really and beneficial, and if you see the state rules everything in Swift UI. So the difference is initial state and the app state are different. Like now we are able to understand the differences, so it doesn't lose the synchronization. um, yeah, so and also it helps in modularity. So with the help of code itself we can able to draw a view. And in the Swift UI, we have the previews. Now they have added the previews to the UI kit as well. Earlier,
Mm-hmm.
it started with this Swift UI with the previews that we can able to check the visualize the view before
Mm-hmm.
running the application, and we can able to find out the issues before it, and this helps the developers to use more into the Swift way, even though it has some complications, but they are constantly improving, and
Okay.
it's really a beautiful feature done by the Apple when compared to
Okay.
previous.
Previous one. I think there will always be some issues that we can fix and improve the existing code or the language. So last time when we had a discussion, you mentioned something about Swift data, which was I think something that caught my eye, and also you were very much excited about that as well. So one thing I wanted to ask: how Swift data is integrated with Swift UI, and how does it compares with the core data actually, which was used and which is used in Objective C?
Yeah, core data has been introduced long back, but then started with the Objective-C. It's not a database; it's an object graph
Mhm.
framework. It
Mhm.
helps in the complex queries, and also it fetches the data. It has a persistent store, so that the data will be stored persistently. So with the help
Mhm.
of the SQLite database, it is running over top of the database.
Mhm.
So it has some limitations, right? It's a old framework that it's suitable for Objective-C when compared to Swift. So
Swift.
Swift needs a better framework. So that's why in this year we have got the Swift data that is running top of the core data itself. So it has taken their features as well, like fetch request and persistence. So the persistence store and managed object. So here we have also come across the macros, right? So with the help of macros, we are able to use the Swift data. Swift data is user friendly with the Swift and Swift UI as well. So that's why this is very popular right now. So
Mhm.
it has been started recently. Maybe
Okay.
in it will evolve in the
In future.
future.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for clearing that one part that it's not a database, but an object does. Because when I read it, even I thought that okay, it is something related to database only. But yeah, I think that is really good, and we can expect to see a lot of improvements in the coming future as well. So there is one thing I wanted to ask you is about. So can you discuss the latest developments that are trends in iOS, such as Swift UI, Combine, and macros as well.
Yeah, sure. Swift UI is a essential feature for building the UI user
Mm-hmm.
interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see Swift data, we have already discussed that is a
Correct.
top trend right now. So that helps in saving the data. If we can
Mm-hmm.
have a persistent data, right? So like combine, it's a reactive programming. Earlier we had a RX Swift is a third party one. So Apple
Mm-hmm.
has developed this combine framework that really helpful for the reactive programming. It helps in the asynchronous programming as well. So like we can make use of the publishers and subscribers. So it can observe the changes of the data that will
Mm-hmm.
be able to help in binding the data.
Okay.
And we can able to render the data to the view. So here these are the trending one. And
Yeah.
now like async await, that is also
Mm-hmm.
a concurrency part. So
Mm-hmm.
earlier we discussed in Swift 5.5 we have seen this async await. That's a great feature for. Earlier we had a GCD, Grand Central Dispatch. So GTC had a low-level C libraries, right? The GCD is one of it. So GCD works well with WTC, but what about Swift? So that's why we can have this async await. That really helpful while having API services like fetching data from the API, external representation. So that helps in this concurrency feature. So it's evolving. So most of the developers are going with this. And macros, it's the latest development trend. So that really simplifies the code, and inside the macros it has the implementation, but we can simply declare, and it reduces the boilerplate of the code. So
Okay.
that's why even the Swift data uses the macros. That's really helpful. Earlier in the core data, we need to import certain libraries, some
Mhm.
methods or functions. So Swift data uses the macros, so it is very helpful to get the managed object model and the context. Also persistent store where we can store it, and
Mhm.
also we can make asynchronous operation as well. So these are the
Mhm.
development trends right now. Let's see
Okay.
upon the future. Okay.
Yeah, and since we are discussing about Swift UI, and we have previously discussed about the declarative UI. So declarative UI is part of Swift UI, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
okay. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Just wanted to confirm that because
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
we discussed about
Okay.
that. So when we again came up with the Swift UI, that question stuck in my mind. So coming to the next question, which is the most favorite topic of mine, and I'm seriously passionate about it. One of the things that I like in Apple devices, being an Apple user, is Apple Home. But again, one of the things that I don't like about it is very less devices in India are supporting Apple Home application or the HomeKit support. So now they are increasing, of course, but the cost to buy it is a bit high. But one thing I like is how the Home app works, the way it works, the efficiency, the speed. Because being worked in IoT from a long time since college,
Yes.
one thing I always wanted to I was always expecting out of my project was the speed, the latency of clicking the turning on switch and then the bulb or the light turning on, the latency between that. So I always used to focus on how we can reduce the latency. It should be like a normal switch only. Here it just awaits the button click and it will turn on immediately. So I have seen a lot of videos, and I have done some projects where we are trying to bypass the HomeKit and try to integrate Apple Home with our development boards. So one thing I wanted to ask you is how seemingly Apple devices connect with the IoT kits, and how hard it is to or what are the implications of this from a developer perspective while developing such applications.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's related to your field as well. So here,
Yes.
Apple supports the code this BLE or IoT. So
Mm.
uh, it has devices that we can able to read from applications. So we have a core Bluetooth framework. It has been there for a long time. So we can make use of the core Bluetooth that helps in reading the data from the IoT device. Or like I have done the project with healthcare that has the BLE. So we were able to read those data. So here in the core Bluetooth, the significant or central manager, peripheral manager. So these are the technical terms that, and we can able to understand the characteristics and the services of the peripherals of the your IoT devices. So I have used with the core Bluetooth, and I have fetched the data from the device, and I was able to read it and make it by using the algorithm, and I was able to render the data to the view.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it is really helpful, and sometimes if you see in the background modes, we have the Bluetooth accessory, and option is there. We can able to read the data even in the background mode.
Mm-hmm.
in that state
Mm.
also we can able to make use of it. The
Okay.
IoT, uh, if you see, there are some devices, IoT devices has the security as well, security apps, but generally the normal devices will not have that. But if you see that we will able to have the security. So
Mm-hmm.
with the help of the security, we can able to restrict the incorrect request
Mm-hmm.
coming from devices. So we can able to filter it and make use of it, and we can update to the BLE as well. I mean the IoT devices as well. Yeah, it is, and now it's working. I think since 2017, I guess they have started using in the healthcare and um, other fields as well. So IoT is really helpful, like using using the device, we can able to check the
Correct. Yes. Yes.
some sugar and everything. So all those things, it is very helpful. Uh,
Hmm.
iOS is constantly supporting these Bluetooth communication as well. So it is seamlessly providing communication between the app and devices. So it is really helpful.
Okay. Great.
There
I
are
think
some challenges.
IoT. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are some challenges in sometimes that device does not support something. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe some they are working on the improvement as well.
Okay.
So when compared to the initial, now it's really we are able to fetch multiple device at a time. So fetch the
Hmm.
data from
Hmm.
device. That's really
Yeah.
good news.
Yeah, I think although if there are less devices supported, it works really well. As far as I have seen, one thing I like about is we can create different scenes in Apple Home, and we can, add multiple devices to that scene. And when that scene get activated, it'll work according to that, and all the devices in that scene will work according to our instructions. So yeah, the integration of multiple apps and multiple features in such applications helps a lot for the user to work with. And as you said, in terms of medical data that you said you worked on, it really helps to gather that data and create an analysis or prediction on how the trend can be for that data, or we can suggest few of the things to patients. So that is really great. And I think the future is coming in that way only, that the devices and the humans will be somehow connected in either the way, and there will be a point where we will be using data more than what we are doing today to predict a lot of things in our daily life. So the next question is one of the most discussed question when it comes to iOS developers and the companies who are building applications for Apple support. They complain a lot, and they have although there are both sides of the coin, complaints as well as uh, uh, and good pros as well. Uh, but the question comes like this: that what exactly is the impact of App Store policies on the application development, distribution, and monetization?
Yes, yes, it's a good question because some of them doesn't know about how the app getting rejected. So,
Correct.
like App Store suggested some guidelines and
Mm.
some required rules, set of rules we need to follow, and the conventions we need to follow to make app secure, and also it should not give a like not a friendly uh, for users. So it should be make it friendly, and it should not give any crashes. It should not leak any data, and they should not take the PI data. So these are the conventions they are following. So the process will be app store review process will be taking like 2 to 3 days for each application. They will be testing all the functionalities, and they will provide you if there is some issues, and they will report back, and they will suggest you how to debug and how to resolve these things, how to incorporate certain frameworks or functionalities. So these are the app store process. And while building the application earlier for development, we can have a simulator but when you test it in device, we need to have a developer account that has the developer certificate and provisioning profile. And for pushing to testers, like a tester environment, we need to have some certificates. And also, while publishing in the app store, we need to have some the distribution certificates. Now, all those things are
Mhm.
important while publishing to the app store. And you asked something like monetization, so that that will comprises in business models. Like
Mhm.
there are some free apps like we can able to download, we don't need to pay. That is one of the thing you can able to see. And other application like freemium, so that has a we can able to download freely. But if you want to enjoy some services, and we need to incorporate that in our in-app purchases, that Apple provided that in-app purchases. So that there will have some different types like consumable, non-consumable. And there are a few setups, like if you are playing a game, if you want a gems, or like that,
Mhm.
we need to get those things. And like one time we can purchase and we don't need to pay for others. And there will be recurring payments will be there. So those are the types of business models in freemium. So
Mhm.
other if you see, like the paid version, so that will have us we need, like for downloading itself we need to pay. So that's one of the one business model. Another one is it's combination of freemium and the paid. So we
Mhm.
can able to we need to pay, and then if you want to enjoy or extend some services or some features, so we need to pay that through the in-app purchase. And generally in-app purchase will we need to 30% of charges will be taken by Apple. So as per
Mhm.
their documentation. And if you go with the small business program, we can able to reduce the 15 percentage. But you should
Okay.
match their requirements. So these are the monetization. And I have experienced a lot of things like App Store app getting rejected due to some things,
Hmm.
because of the crashes and
Correct.
because of certain functionalities. So we should follow. And also it
Hmm.
gives more privacy and security as well. So
Okay.
yeah, going through app store process is good for publishing in the app store. That's it.
Correct. Okay. So, yeah, I think, yeah, being, I have been in communication with a lot of iOS and Android developers. I think the one biggest thing that is required in both sides is security and proper testing of the application. So it's really good that now, so again, it can be a debatable issue, but I think both sides are taking a lot of serious steps on security, being taking the look on the advancements and the code advancements that are coming in, people trying to find out different ways to bypass a lot of things. I think there are a lot of steps that are being taken in terms of security and testing, so that is really good. uh, so next thing that I wanted to ask you is about accessibility features. So what are accessibility features are crucial for iOS applications, and how can developer implement them effectively?
Yeah, and so now Apple has started supporting to accessibility features. Those who have some speech impairments and
Correct.
eye problems, so they can also make use of these applications. So Apple have strongly suggested to use, and they have improvised this process. So voiceover support, that they can able to the speech impairments can able to uh, uh, I mean they can able to use the application.
Correct.
And using the first haptic things have been introduced by the Apple, so that has the touch events. So with that events, they can able to use it where they are uh, And when you see in the eye impairments, they can also able to use it with the help of this application. There are some features they have newly introduced as well that should
Yeah.
work with every people. So this is a good advancement by Apple, and
Correct.
it's a good great
Correct.
initiative as well.
Yeah.
So
One of the things that I use a lot in accessibility is assistive touch, and I think most of the Apple users are using that. It helps a lot, and yeah, it
yes,
saves the
yes,
side buttons to get damaged from when we can lock and mute from the assistive touch. And again, yeah, it's actually one thing I like about. So this is again my own experience. I cannot say that everyone should have the same experience, but one thing I like a lot about is the accessibility part itself. So, being able to make sure that even smaller tasks which we do, like taking a screenshot or maybe, locking the phone or accessing
yeah,
some uh, different things that might not be useful to all of them in the phone, but can change the way a lot of people work with the phone. And one of the most important thing that I like about Apple, which I think they have done it later on, it was not from initial time, is shortcuts, which previously was known as workflows or something like that. So shortcuts is one of the best application that
yes,
I
yes,
think I have used till date, because it makes
yes.
life of the phone user really,
Phone.
really very easy.
Yeah.
Not just
And
phone
it
user,
helps
but
in,
even correct, correct. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead. I think you can share
yeah, it
some
helps
light.
in, yeah, it helps in automation as well. Like we can
Yeah.
able to create the events, and we can able to have some task. So that helps the man people easier and go
Yes,
by
yes. Uh,
like
yeah, but
day
yeah,
to
correct,
day
correct.
life.
Yeah. But a lot of people, I have seen this, that a lot of people, at least those who have met, so out of 10, only one or two are aware of the power that these applications hold. So
Yes,
again, those who have not seen what Apple shortcuts can do, check out the video in the link. The link will be in the description, so you can check it out.
great.
But yeah, I think shortcuts is something that people do underestimate a lot, but it
Yes,
is way more powerful than what we can also imagine. And what a lot of people have done, a lot of things. Even if we are going in the gallery, we can see what people have done. So I'm working currently on one of the project which includes iOS shortcut application, is communicating with Notion using Notion API. So that is
okay.
one thing that I'm right now working, because going to Notion application and adding the data is again a bit, although it is not that complicated, but since we have the power in hand to do it more easier and more
Yes, yes,
automatically without us being too much interacting with the application, shortcut can really help you in that part if you're doing it from phone or iPad or Mac OS, of course from Mac as well. And for those who are again working from Android or anything, you can make an app which will work or communicate with the Notion AI and Notion
yes,
API.
yes.
But I think that this kind of use cases shows you how strong the such one application can be, and what kind of diverse automation or what kind of diverse tasks it can do in that
Yes, exactly.
in that perspective. So yeah, it was really great thing that shortcut came up somehow. So again,
It's the most underrated feature of
yeah,
Apple.
really.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. This is one of the most underrated feature of Apple phone, and I think people should use it more because it really
yes,
makes your life more easier.
more
So
easier.
yeah, I'm glad that this topic came up somehow. And again, one of the thing that a lot of people have praised about what Apple does, so is the way they are able to optimize software and hardware communication. So with the launch of that pinhole camera, they created the
Yeah,
dynamic island, and the way they introduced it is again a marketing geniuses. That is another thing. But one thing we cannot deny is that the way they optimize their software with the hardware, that is really not something that anyone can just get up and do. So I wanted to ask you, like, can you discuss Apple's hardware innovations like Face ID, Touch ID, and Apple Silicon, of course, M1 and M2 chips, which changed the way things work and the way people are looking at the silicon chip or hardware in a generic perspective.
Yes, exactly. So these are the like Face ID, Touch ID, or biometric things. So that helps in privacy and security as well. So even though they have introduced in long back, like 6 years, yes, more than 6 years, it has been introduced, and this is one
Yes.
of the best feature that we have come across. We can able to save our data, and it has a good privacy and settings as well. And like Apple Silicon, that has been a good initiative by the Apple, because earlier we have used the Intel based application,
Hmm.
so that some things will not work or something. Anyways, if you have the Apple product, if Apple chips, Apple Silicon chips, it's a universal one, so that we can able to use Intel based application and also Mac based application. So that is one of
Hmm.
the um, greatest thing they have recently developed. And I am using the M2 chip. It's really faster, better than the Intel based. So processing wise also it's very good. And
Good. Okay.
yeah, hardware side also it is really evolving.
Hmm.
Thanks for
Yeah, I
this
think
topic.
silicon chips are going to go a long way, and lot of evolvement and again, introducing silicon chips in air. That was really a great
Yeah.
initiative, and they did it exactly after 1 year. I bought the iPad, so I was not happy with that because I didn't get a chance to use Stage Manager since I am having the Bionic chip. But again, that made the use of products a bit more strong and way more strong, I can say. With the max chips, I think a lot of people have praised the way how powerful the silicon max chips are, N1 max and M2 max as well. So it is going to become, some or the other way, they are going to make it much more powerful. They'll keep it making more powerful, but that is also how the things will change for how we use devices, and how things might change for us, also for the developers who are going to design the applications for the users to use. So it'll be another, I think, a whole lot of discussion on how silicon chips have changed the way we develop things. But yeah, I think for now this is something that we can expect, that there will be a lot of uh, development in the silicon chips. So one thing I wanted to ask, and this is personally my question as well, because there is always a debate between cross platform and native development. So I wanted to
Yes.
ask you, from your personal point of view, can you share some light on a cross platform development, like Flutter and React Native, and the Swift, of course, the native one. So for iOS it might be Swift, and for Android it might be Kotlin, or the Android storage Java. So, what do you think? Which one can overshadow other? Is there any difference, or what is your perspective on this?
Yeah, so like even Apple is working on these cross-platform things as well. They are constantly supporting as well. So when you compare with native and cross-platform, there are pros and cons always. So native, it has its own ability. So we can able to do like the compatibility and also the user interface, those are like it has been taken from the native libraries, so it has responsiveness. So when compared to others, we can able to develop the application in the cross platform, such as React Native or Flutter. If you see Slack, Discord, all those
Hmm.
applications are developed with the cross platform applications only.
Okay, okay,
So they are also useful. But if you see in large scale like privacy and security, and those aspects, if you see, like we should have the native libraries, so that
Okay.
will help in privacy. And also, if you go with the 3D animations, augmented reality, virtual reality, earlier we had integrated with the Unity, and that's a third party. So now we have the native libraries that give a better interactive design, so
Okay.
that gives a lively experience when compared to other cross platform. Building an app is easy with the cross platform, because we will be deploying it in both Android and iOS
Correct.
at that time. But native with development might be but it's equal. Like we can able to incorporate our libraries itself. That really helpful for
Mm-hmm.
users, and this really helpful. I would go with the native, and we can have like small applications. We can go with the cross platform if we
Cross
are
platform.
not enriching much newer concepts like Sprite
Hmm.
Kit or some health kit. On those things have been native things, so
Hmm.
we
Okay.
should go stick with some native libraries. Yeah, that's
For
my.
that. Okay. Yeah, so I think there will always be a debate with native and cross-platform. But again, based on your use case and the way, because I was not aware that Slack is a cross-platform application, although it is really good and they have made it really well. I don't use it much, but yeah, I think a lot of people they are even using for their project management or something as well. I think, as far as
Yes,
I have
exactly.
heard it. So can we can make such applications as well, but again you need to be, you need to be that visioned enough that okay, we are going to do a crash platform for such a scaled application, then how we are going to do it, what we are going to use. If that kind of clarity you have, then you can find the proper use case and decide whether you need to go with cross platform or native. So yeah, I think we are almost at the end, and there is one question that I wanted to ask you, which is something that I usually try to ask everyone. So, for those who are getting into iOS development, based on your 9+ years of suggestion experience, what will be your suggestion? How they should get started? That is one thing. And then again, where do you see iOS development in coming 5 years? Where do you see iOS development in coming 5 years?
Yeah, it's a good question, tricky question as well. So I always suggest you to go to read the official documentations. So we have a WWDC, so you know that worldwide a development conference. So
Hmm.
all developers will be coming, and there will be interactive live sessions and workshops and all those things. We have the documentations, and those sessions are really helpful to start building the application with the latest
Hmm.
Swift or Swift UI. So I would suggest go with the Apple's suggestion. If you
Official
want to
documentation.
go in, yeah, Apple. So if you want to go in more deeper, you can refer other like Kodako is a good, or a Paul Hudson books are really suggestive. So those are also really helpful. But stick with the
Of,
Apple's developer account. So
hmm.
that document will be helpful. I would say to your other question, like iOS ecosystem is expanding. If you see, we have iOS, iPad OS, Mac OS, Watch, Vision. So I would say we have a lot of options that we can start with also, and yeah, I feel it's really growing their ecosystem. I would say that still it will be grow, and now they have attracted new developers, and it's running faster than other programming languages, and we have incorporated a lot of other features because of the open source. So I think the iOS will be expanding a lot. It will be in the competitive world. So that's my suggestion as well. Yeah, if you want to go in a cross platform or native, just go with yeah, basic of iOS thing that will really helpful for building applications. To go with the Apple suggested documentations, that will really help.
Great,
That's
great. And yeah, I think we are, we had a really great session and we are at the end. So again, thank you, Sabah, for joining me on this awesome podcast. I think there is a lot to learn from people like you who are having so much of experience. And I could have extracted, I think around 10-20% out of you, but yeah, I think I'm happy with that
yeah,
for now. And I think we have learned a lot of new things, and also it
exactly.
will get a lot of people to get started with, the key is to get started somehow, and then once you gather that, willpower to get started, the way will come searching to you. So that's really great. So thank you again, Sabah, for joining me on this podcast.
Yeah, thank
And yeah,
Yeah,
so
I would like to thank you for having me in this podcast. So
of
it
course.
is my first podcast. It's really excited. You have shared a lot of insights about IoT and also your understanding of iOS and other stuffs. So it is really helpful, and I have started following your channel, and also it is really informative, especially the IoT things, and
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
grateful
you.
to that.
Thank you.
Thank,
Yeah, thank you. Thank
thank
you
you
for
very
the
much.
feedback. And for the viewers, I will link Kanak Sabapathi's LinkedIn link in the description. Make sure you don't bother him too much, but again, keep a look on his work. And if you need any guidance, you can reach him anytime for iOS development. And as I always say, keep innovating, guys. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.